Motion to open the Blueberry public hearing.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
So be it. Can you read the notice of public hearing on Blueberry LLC?
Notice is hereby given that the town of Shandaken zoning board of appeals will be open to public hearing pursuant to section 267-A, state law, and as prescribed the district schedule of area and regulations of Shandaken Town Code for the purpose of hearing and following applicant. Regarding the application of the and area variance submitted by Shandaken Blueberry LLC for a parcel located at 310 Main Street in Pine Hill, further identified as SBL number 4.46-1-30B110, said parcel being located in a hamlet, commercial zone district. The applicant is seeking a use variance in lieu of the density regulations within the district schedule of area and bulk regulations of the town of Shandaken zoning code, which require a minimum of 2.4 acres in order for the structure to be converted to 10 affordable housing units and cafe/restaurant. The parcel consists of approximately 0.95 acres. The applicant is seeking an area variance in the lieu of zoning code 116-40A.4, which only allows 4 units and a multi-family structure. The public hearing is scheduled for December 18, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the Shandaken Town Hall, 7209 Route 28, Shandaken. Anyone who wishes to make comment regarding the application should do so during your public hearing. If you are unable to attend, you can send any comments you would like read during the meeting to shandakenbog@gmail.com or PO Box 124, Shandaken, New York 12480. All such comments must be received no later than December 18, 2024 at 3 p.m. And I did receive one email regarding
Is there more correspondence
no,
on this?
for what? The other papers and files is for that applicant who's not able to make it this evening. Would you like me to read the one?
Yes, please.
To the members of the zoning board, good evening, because as I live across the street from the Wellington building in Pine Hill, several things concern me. 10 apartments for a building currently zoned for 4 is too great an increase. Is there a limit to the number of people allowed in each apartment? Could there be 20, 30, 40, or more people living there? Is there a maximum allowable number for the building? If the ground floor is filled by commercial enterprises, will more apartments be added there? People make noise, all of us, whether by day or night. With 10 and more people living there, the noise level on Main Street, already considerable, could increase substantially. I'm not sure what that word is. Thank you. 20 cars could be counted to the building, adding motor, remote noise, and exhaust to the air. Is there land enough to park these cars? Will the land be paved over? Is new paving allowed adjacent to streams? Public housing is encircled by lighting, which will add to the loss of the night sky, something the Catskills is fortunate to have but rapidly losing. The board must take sufficient time to carefully consider these important questions before any approval of variances. Thank you, Michael Boyer.
Thank you. Is there anybody here present that would like to speak either for or against the Blueberry LLC project? Can you come up and state your name and your address?
I'm Anthony Genetti at 317 Main Street. To the zoning board, the request in density relief is a clear acknowledgement to alter the character of this western end of Pine Hills Main Street. I'm concerned about the scale of the Wellington proposal. There is insufficient room on the property for parking. The grocery store and cafe, also being proposed, will both of which will attract patrons that require additional parking. There exists a tendency up here in Pine Hill area to park on the sidewalks, and I have anxious visions of this for the future. It was not uncommon in the heyday of the Colonials Buffet and the Arms Saturday evening events that there was so much parking that went up Bonneview Avenue. I wasn't able to get out of my house. And I'm concerned that this may become a regular or a genuine experience should the scale of what's being proposed actually come to fruition. I'm not opposed to the idea, I'm opposed to the number of units that are being considered. I didn't own, by the way, I never owned a car in those days, but had I done it, I would have had a difficult time getting into my garage, getting into the house, getting into the garage, or even getting into the backyard. So much of the basis of this request at this time appears not to have been sufficiently stated to the residents on Main Street, and it would be helpful if a more open dialogue in Pine Hill were conducted regarding issues that stand in the way of raising monies to realize the goal, or better yet, rethink it in the context of Shandaken's larger plan for housing throughout the town. Questions I've asked have been carefully answered so as to provide only guarded responses. Giving an okay at this juncture ties the hands of neighbors and others in Pine Hill with a closed deal whose more negative consequences won't be apparent until it's too late to make changes or adjustments to it. There is such a thing as a neighborhood, even on a mini scale, such as Bonneview Avenue and Main Street. What other ways can Wellington raise funds? It needs to make the case for so many units and so much inconvenience in the surrounding street. What compromise can be reached to allow for growth without placing all of it in one building? Suggestions to reduce the number of units has met with the response that this is impossible, that it has to be 10. Why? While a great deal has already been done in pursuit of the project, I'm not ready to fully support it or its implications regarding the fair and quiet character of my own home and property or the unique character of the hamlet. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. We can't actually answer the questions as to why 10 apartments as opposed to 8 or 6 or whatever. However, our concerns are also what the community's concerns are, and they deal with parking and how cluttered and how much activity is going to be there after the hotel is brought back to its original old state. And it is a historical building, and 10 apartments, I believe, or even 8 in that building, whatever they do put there, would definitely benefit the community if they're low and middle income apartments. But to some of your other questions, I would ask the Blueberry LLC group if they'd like to come up and address any of your concerns.
I'm Jan Jaffe. I'm the president of the Wellington Blueberry LLC. Wellington was the original name of the hotel, which is why we have it there. I think Tony is addressing an issue that we talked to you about last time we were here, which is about parking, which is an issue throughout the town. The conditions that, Tony, you're describing are not conditions that were related to the Wellington. A lot of properties are grandfathered in, so they really don't have to apply, they don't have to use any parking regulations whatsoever. But the Wellington will have to adhere to parking regulations. And we have been spending the last couple months, as Tony knows and other people in the community know, trying to figure out how to best address the parking issues. And we have been in conversation with the town, and we're here as well to figure out what we can do. In the ideal world, we would just have people not have cars like they did in 1880, which would be terrific in my view. And I would love it if everyone would just ride a bicycle. But that's not feasible. And obviously, we would love it if the 0.9 acres of the Wellington could just stay grassy and be a park. That would also be wonderful, but then the town would be very unhappy, as Tony would be and other community members, because people would be parking on the street. So what we have done in the last month or 2 months is that we've hired an engineer to help us with the site plan, try to figure out what we can get on the grounds that's feasible, that will adhere to all the rules and regulations of DEC and DEP, And we've also been in discussion with the town about what could be done to have some of the parking requirements, which would be onerous for the project. We couldn't get 23 parking spots on that site. What we could do instead, and the town has a code, as you know, that allows for payments in lieu of parking sites, and the town has passed a regulation last month to set a price on that. And so what we are working with our engineers to try to come up with a reasonable number of sites on the property, and then pay a fee in lieu of parking sites, so that the property won't just be a giant parking lot, but will also be contributing to the town maintaining a municipal parking lot. I think that part of this issue for all of us to consider, and it certainly should be part of the comprehensive plan discussion, is that we either have commercial activity in Pine Hill, or we have empty streets. You just can't have both, you know, that there will be more cars. I think we're addressing this in a very careful and thoughtful way. We have drawings, the drawings are posted on our sites. We can share them, you have them. We'd love to have a community meeting to share them, that's all fine. I don't think that it's feasible for us to do this project without providing 10 units of housing. It's just the numbers don't work, and we don't want to put in high-end units. We're not looking for, we're looking to try to get affordable housing in there. This is not public housing. Tony called it public housing. That's not correct. We're trying to target reasonable market rents for people who work in the area. We're talking about 80% of the area median income of Ulster County. And our goal is to have more people in the town who are also participants in the community, who volunteer at the fire department, which we desperately need, who volunteer at the community center and the library, who see themselves as part of the community. And I think that's a valuable goal, but everything has costs and benefits. There's no question about it. I wouldn't argue with that. I live in Pine Hill. I live on Bonnie View Avenue. I remember what Tony's talking about. That property doesn't have any regulations on its parking, and there's nothing we can do about that. We will have regulations on our parking. So I wanted to say a couple other things, just to update you on where we are. We have, as I mentioned, we have a site engineer now working on the project. We're working very closely with RUBCO. RUBCO has two arms, so I want to clarify that for everybody. It has an arm that provides services to renters. That's not the group we're working with. RUBCO is going to develop the property and then turn it over to us. And we will be doing the renting of the property. So this is their development arm. It's considered like a premier nonprofit real estate developer. They do very high-end quality renovation. If you've been to the Lace Factory in Kingston, or the two hotels that they renovated in Kingston, they're gorgeous. And so we're very proud and amazed that we have this relationship. They have not come up this far before, but they think the building is really important. They think the project is very feasible. So we've got a partner that can really do the job. We have also gotten our drawings. The LLC has paid for drawings to be submitted to the State Historic Preservation Organization for approval. They have reviewed them and approved them and recommended that the National Park Service give us historic tax credit approval so that we can raise some private equity to help finish the project. And as you know, we have a state grant that was awarded through the Ulster Economic Development of $1.6 million, which we still need to build out more. It's an expensive rehabilitation. It will be for anybody who does it, because it's been so badly neglected for so many years. So we either save the building or the building falls down. I mean, the foundation has to be completely replaced. and that's a very expensive proposition. So I would, a part of our partnership with RUBCO is helping us do some of these pre-development activities. We have a land use lawyer now who's working with us. At your suggestion, and I think it was the right thing to do, we submitted an application to the planning board to get the process on that end started. And part of that is that we have, we are going through a coordinated SECRA review. I think the planning board lawyer I thought that was a good idea. Our lawyer thought it was a good idea. And Mike Moriella came up to talk to you today about that because the SECRA review has some implications for this hearing. So but I'm happy to answer any other questions and Tony, anything that you or Michael or anybody else wants to talk about. We want to talk, we're neighbors.
Thank you, Jan. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Jan?
Jen, how big are the apartments? I mean, are they basically?
They're
studio?
small. They're between, I think, I haven't looked at the drawings recently, but I think they're like between 600 and 700 square feet. So there's 5 studios and 5 one-bedrooms. They all comply with the square footage requirements from the state.
I have a question, just really quickly. You mentioned affordable, but you also mentioned reasonable market. So which one is it?
Our target market is 80% of area median income. That's what we'd like to do. So these days, and we're talking, I mean, it really depends on, that's sort of something around probably between $900 and $1,100 a month. That's considered affordable.
And have you made any headway on parking? I know we talked about off-site parking.
Yeah, we have done 2 things. One is that we have initial drawings which have to be reviewed by about 35 agencies for 12 parking spaces on site, 10 on one side of the property and 2 on the other side. And so that would take care of one space for each apartment and 2 spaces that would probably be more like for employees of the grocery market. And then we have been, we are prepared to make payment in lieu of parking sites for the balance after we've talked about the use and variances that we'd like to see. I mean, the code requires 1.5 units, 1.5 parking spaces per unit. We're hoping that we can get a variance to make it 1 parking space per unit. And we would be clear to renters that they have 1 space. And that could be put in the lease as a requirement, that they have 1 space, and then if they need another space, they either have to, maybe they can find people in the community who want to lease a parking space to them, or they would have to use the municipal parking lot like everybody else does.
And on-street parking is?
There's some on-street parking, but as Tony said, it's very complicated there because the streets are narrow, people have bigger cars these days. And it depends on the time of day when you're looking at the property. I mean, really, Pine Hill only looks like a lot of people are on Main Street on Saturdays and Fridays sometimes, depending on the season. The rest of the time, there's plenty of parking. Also, I just want to mention one other thing, just as a reminder, the town is also looking into another parking lot further down on Main Street. It would be like a 5-minute walk from the Wellington. And that would really open up a lot more municipal activity. But that's not, I mean, they're doing the exploration, but nothing has happened yet.
Well, that's speaking of the area variance for the 10 units. And you need like 1.5 spaces for every unit, and then for every 200 square feet or 400 square feet in retail space you'd need.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak on the use variance?
I think what I'd like to do is ask Mike to talk a little bit about it because we're doing a coordinated SECRA review, we can't really make any decision. We can't ask you to make any decisions today because that has to be resolved first. So I think it would be helpful to have him walk you through that process. So that's new information.
Well, he's up and moving.
I know. Thanks.
Good evening to the board. Thank you for having us. I'm Mike Memoriello. I'm the attorney for RUPCO. I've represented RUPCO for probably the better part of 25 or 30 years. I've done all their development work in the valley for a long, long time. They're a first-rate quality organization. Anyone who has done a project with them, I think, has been happy. Like Dan said, you can take a look at what's been done in Kingston, also Woodstock Commons, where people come from all over the state to see that particular project. As far as the process goes, I spoke with Ben Gailey. I sent him a letter back in December 6th, and you can do seeker two ways. You can do an uncoordinated review where each board makes their own seeker findings, or I think the easier way to do it is to do a coordinated review where there's one lead agency designated, which presumably would be the planning board. They make the findings for the environment, and then those findings are circulated to everyone else, and then those boards, once seeker is completed, can make their determination. You have to wait for that process to be done from coordinated review standpoint before any permits or approvals can be granted. So that slows down the process with the ZBA, but probably speeds up the overall process with everyone. So we've organized it in that fashion. Ben Gailey is fine with doing it that way. Planning board's good with it. We met last week with them, started the lead agency process by putting out a notice of intent. Serve as lead agency. This board will get a copy of those documents too. As you know, the area variance and use variance analysis requires a 5-step process. With both, it's our job to make those arguments before the board, which I will make a submittal. I'm gonna probably in the next several weeks here, we'll get a listing. I need information from the client, but then we will make a listing of the issues to address, and then I'll put together an area variance addendum and a use variance addendum. We're also meeting next Friday with a very important meeting with the code enforcement officer, with the floodplain administrator, ourselves, our engineer Alan, and Ben Gailey to discuss exactly what area variances we need. The use variance, we know what we need with that. This board knows that, the number of units as part of that use variance. What is a little bit puzzling is how many area variances we're going to need. We know we're going to need parking variances for probably number of spaces, maybe aisle width, things of that nature. But the bigger question is, do we need setback variances? Do we need corner lot variances? Do we need height variance? Well, so all of those things I want to talk to about with the code enforcement officer, because the code enforcement officer or the zoning enforcement officer makes that determination for the applicant. Once you're in the review process, you can go directly to the code enforcement officer. You don't need to be denied, and you can have those issues determined. Once we do that, we'll know which variances we need. Part of the complicating factor is that in New York State, there's a whole line of cases that say, provided that you don't increase the existing extent of the non-conformance, if you have a non-conforming lot, which we have, you don't necessarily need an area variance. So I always kind of use the porch example as the best example of it. Say you have a porch on a building and the porch encroaches on the 25 feet setback by 10 feet. If you're not doing anything to the porch, but you're doing stuff to the rest of the building, you don't need the variance for the porch. But if you're changing the porch, you need a variance. So that is what we're going to be trying to decide. And I think once we have those answers, we'll be in a much better position to put together addendums that address both of those pathways, the area variance and the use variance. So I will be a while in the seeker process. My clients always say, how long do you think that'll take? I think it probably will take several months. we have a number of things to do and to get through before the planning board can say, yeah, we'll draft a seeker negative declaration of environmental significance. And that will take a little bit of while. So, but I can answer any questions the board may have now. I'm not, like I said, I can't get too specific in terms of the variances yet.
Based on what you were saying, in your opinion, is this meeting or hearing tonight a little premature on asking for the area variance and use variance?
Yes, I think so. And it was set up kind of in an uncoordinated review fashion. It wasn't wrong. It was just set up differently than I think than Ben and I kind of envisioned for going forward. So I would the board can do any number of things. They can keep the public hearing open, which I would probably advise against because we have to renotice, we have to give the proper variances. Probably best to just close this public hearing, know that we're gonna come back and revisit it, and then redo the notices, so everybody.
I agree.
Yeah, that's. Well, we can waive the vote if we want, which we will do. I mean, they won't have to vote. They can keep it.
Yeah, we have 62 days to answer the public hearing.
No, we won't, no, I mean, we won't be back before you're ready to get approved. So, I mean, but we
So
can,
what is the best?
we can waive that 62-day period.
Okay.
We can say that we don't want you to enforce it.
Okay.
And that's fine. And I can also send if you want, I'll send you want me to send a
Yeah,
letter that we waive it?
Yeah, I would
that's
prefer a
not-
letter to the zoning and building department and us.
We will send that and we waive it. We have all these periods.
Yeah.
Seeker and the law and state law, and we're always waiving it.
Yeah. Well, the best way forward is a coordinated effort by all parties.
I think it is, I think it protects the record the
It
best way
does.
too. So,
And we appreciate that.
well, thank you to the board, thank you for your time, and happy holidays.
Yeah, same to you, Mike. Thank you for that presentation. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak on the Blueberry LLC variances at all? Yes.
One of the great things about South Hopkins University where you get a chance to hear is that everybody wants to make me come back.
Yes.
Just people have an idea of what we do that means. And I think by fleshing out some concerns people have, which are legitimate concerns, we can address them, make sure that the project goes forward, that it goes forward in a way that suits everybody's needs the best we can, which means suits the needs of the community.
Yeah.
Chief among those needs, everybody knows, is actually developing towns with houses of people. We don't have houses, we don't have a town. Pine Hill's been here for a long time, but at the rate it's going, frankly, it's not going to continue. Because we have a lot of places in town that aren't contributing to a parking mess, they aren't contributing to noise, they aren't contributing to light pollution. They're just big empty shells of homes that are falling in on themselves because they've been left around. And that's what happens to the community if there's not an active push to improve it. So I guess the only comment that I wanted to give is we have very valid concerns as community members. We should not let perfect be the enemy of the good. And what Wellington has pushed forward is very good. It's new, it's needed. It's not going to be perfect, no matter what we do. We got a 150-year-old building falling on us, we're trying to prop up and give back to town something good. That's always going to be attended by challenges to some of these. So I invite the board, as we make big decisions, as we're moving forward here, keep that in mind and trust the sound judgment of the members to direct the whole community.
Thank you. In looking at this project and addressing it properly, we do see the concerns of all the individuals, of the residents of Pine Hill and the residents of Shandaken, and we do our best to try and accommodate all of those concerns. And in accommodating all of those concerns, it comes to certain times where you can't make everybody happy, but in the long run, it benefits the community and the people that live in the community. So thank you for your comments, and we'll do the best we can with what we have to work with. And does anybody else have any comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion to close the meeting?
Motion is closed.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting so closed. Thank you. Okay. Good job. Consider it. Yeah. All right? Yeah, it is, we can't make any decisions now, and we have to make a motion. Was it all?
No.
You gotta close,
We
you
get
gotta
it.
close it.
We closed it. This is, we close the meeting. But we're gonna keep, they're gonna give us a letter to keep our decision open after the 62 days. They're gonna waive the 62 days. An answer from us. After the meeting is closed. Who's going to the law is that after we have a public hearing, we have 62 days from the date of the close of the hearing to make a decision. Okay. So the Blueberry LLC is going to waive the 62-day period, and we'll keep that open, our decision open, because there's a lot of other variances they're going to need. And as I said to him, it looks like this is a little premature to rule on an area variance and a use variance if you're going to need all these other ones, because there's got to be some coordination between all the agencies to.
Do we have enough information at this meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do we have enough information for that?
To make a decision?
No.
To rule?
No.
Yes. No. I mean, they didn't even, it sounds like they don't even know how many area variances
Yeah,
they're gonna need.
and even the use variance. I mean, the use variance is. So, anyway, it's always good to listen to what everybody has to say, make our comments, ask any questions, and it looks like the other one isn't gonna be here, right? Leah? Yeah, so that's it, so all we got is, open the regular meeting.
Regular meeting, then,
Yeah, and I don't think we have anything, so we just have to give them.
no, well, first of all, we're just hearing what he wants to do. We need a public.
Ways to give them.
Do you have new plans or new drawings?
And there's none that's needed.
Those were
I
submitted.
didn't think that. That's the one question I'm gonna ask. What is it variance you're asking? Well, first of all, let's ask him to explain
I think
that.
the zoning board should tell us what they're asking for. No, the zoning, right, because that went through the zoning.
Did you get a chance to see that project on Silver Hollow?
No, I just found out about it now.
And Christian pointed out where it was. Guys,
So she has no,
For the Silver Hollow.
for
he asked you a question and then he like,
it's gonna be.
And I can take her right up there tomorrow.
you can't say there's nothing to see though.
Oh, the spot.
Yeah, the spot, I couldn't find it. I went all the way up to Eston's place.
Meeting?
You know, and when you looked at the drawings, it looked like it had things on trees. And I went up there, I couldn't find anything.
Well, yeah, possibly. I said, once you pass Okus's farm, the stream goes, it's on your right-hand side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's on the left.
yeah, because the stream comes down that way.
This is where that new stream revetment was. It's where we revitalized the stream.
We should probably.
We just started? You guys
I think we have to.
Okay,
No, wait, how about the
Gotta
Leah?
do the pledge of allegiance here.
No,
Okay, so should we formally do something with that?
so we
Formally do something with the Main Street variance?
Oh, yeah, you guys should make a motion to,
Yeah.
because they can't get the.
Yeah, make a motion to,
Okay, so I make a motion to continue the Perloff.
postpone it for 30 days.
To postpone the public hearing for another 30 days until the.
Applicant, till the applicant can can be present.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So ruled.
Good.
45, yeah. Okay, that takes care of all
Pledge
the public
allegiance.
hearings, right?
Yeah, that's all of them. Is it 7? It's after 7.
Okay, so call to order for the regular meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please. Here. Here.
Here.
Were there any amendments to the minutes from the last meeting as submitted? Any amendments to the last minutes? So I make a motion that the minutes as submitted for the November meeting to be accepted as submitted. May I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next case, we covered Wellington Blueberry.
We're done with that, we're done with Leah, and we just go to Savala.
Are you Mr. Saval? Yeah, okay, could you please come up and tell us about the project you want to do? I saw the plans, I'm not sure everybody's familiar
I've
with
seen
it.
So, obviously, a set of plans for each of you. For the planning board, we've done a digital presentation,
Okay.
which I would love to do, but I'm also aware, in terms of the amount of time,
Okay.
that we have, so I'll just give you a quick summary. And while Grace is here, I just want to clarify things. I had a quick chat about this today. So first off, thank you for your time. My name is Rob Cornish, obviously not from around here, but hope to move here. The project is a single family residence, so it's my partner and I who intend to move here. We have college-age kids who are also in the military, so it's still a 3-bedroom home, but it's really just for the two of us. We have been through a workshop process and a regular meeting with the planning board, and that's been very productive. They've been great. We certainly have spent, I think, almost 3 months of iterations with Grace, particularly, and with Eric from Roads, and we've met with DEC, we've met with the DEP. So we feel like the process that we followed to date has been a really good process, and we feel like the outcome, I think, I'm not quite sure how the communication happens between the planning board and yourselves, but I think there's a general view from the planning board that they're supportive of the project. The reason that I'm here tonight, and I'll just clarify with Grace, so the actual application to the ZBA is for a single area variance for a setback. Now, I'm not sure, and maybe that you can help me, I'm not sure that we actually got rejected, but what actually happened was Grace wasn't able to be there at the end of the meeting, and so the board weren't sure whether we needed an area variance. So I said, I think we probably do. And
Setback from where?
setback from the road.
How many feet is it set back right now?
So the thing is that it's the location varies between 40 and 50 feet setback, and we need 60. However, the entire building is under the road level.
Right.
And so the definition of the code, I think, is fairly explicit. It's, any structure which needs that setback. The point I have made to the planning board is that, in my understanding, there's kind of 3 reasons for a setback. So one is obviously visual amenity and streetscape, and how it may impact neighbours or the public. The second is traffic safety, and the third is overshadowing, obviously, most of the adjacent buildings. What we've done, essentially, the presentation I will go through, but it may be that we can get through it really quickly, is the site itself is 6.6 acres. 9% of the site is taken up with the road easement, So the boundary is actually in the middle of the road, it's a town road. So 90% of the site is taken up with the road easement, including the right of way, the 25-foot right of way setback. And 81% of the site is floodplain. So there is actually only 10% of the site that can be built on. But that is impacted by the 60-foot setback. So what we are proposing to you, I don't know whether it's hardship or technically whatever it is, but it's the only place that we can build on this site. We've got to a good understanding with BEC or their representatives, the Association of Streams, that we are setting the entire building back 30 feet from the high level mark of the stream. We're not building out anywhere in the what's called the regulated floodway. We are actually 50 foot back from the stream of where the structure is in the ground. So it's a big cantilevered sort of structure that works to sort of counterbalance on both sides. But essentially we've got a cover to stay away from the stream, and we're 5 foot above the flood model. So we're not actually, so we've obviously met the flood administrator and extensive consultation with the streams. They have actually just done something like $300,000 worth of work on the site itself to shore up the stream, and so they were very keen to understand what we wanted to do, and essentially what we agreed with them is that we would stay right away from at least 200 feet from where they did the work. So we actually relocated from the first location. But essentially what's happening, which we can go through in detail in our presentation, pretty much summarised by we're in the only location where we can be above the floodline and therefore out of any floodplain, below the road, so that it doesn't impact anyone's view. There is established forest, so between the road and where we're talking about. But essentially what we are asking for is to say, well, what the board would contemplate is that the definition of a setback in this instance doesn't necessarily apply for the objectives that it was made. Staying out of the 25-foot right-of-way is a sort of sacrosanct generic. So we've sort of been able to achieve all of that by citing where we have, and we need the one variance.
Yeah. On your application, it shows 85 feet as the setback. So the project has changed since this was filled out?
Sorry, that's confusing. So the 85, so there's 25 for the right-of-way from the middle of the road, which is effectively 9 for the half of the road, and then 18, and then 60. So it is 85, but we can run through the individual sections, but it ranges from 40 to 50 within that 60 zone, not the full 85. So we're not even doing anything in the 25 right away.
So the living space is cantilevered, is part of that cantilevered over the floodway?
No. So it never goes over the floodway.
Okay. And so the foundational pilings will be out of the floodplain?
Yes. So so we're obviously able to use a lot of the engineers were able to use a lot of the modelling that was done. So even though you can't see it on there, you can see the presentation. So we've obviously got the permanent stream, both below and high water mark. Then we've got the regulated floodway, which is about 120 feet. Then we've got one at 100. Then we've got one at 500. And so we're staying out of that completely with the cantilever system. However, we are 5 foot over in some places over 1 in 5.
5 feet over encroaching above. Okay.
So to be clear, you need a setback from the front of the property, because you don't have 60 feet on the 160 feet.
That's right, on the 160 feet.
It goes from 85 to 40?
Either side, and then on the, going towards the stream, it goes another.
Yeah, no, but going towards the road. You don't have 60 feet along that whole road for the front setback.
We don't, that's right.
Okay.
Well, that's right. We're under.
Yeah, so,
Can I ask a question about that? So from, thanks for describing all this to us, Robin. So one thing I noticed in the render was that part of the building seems to be above the road level. Is that true?
No. So we've got lots of different renders which would show, but essentially what happens is we come down off the road and then down 6 feet to have the driveway. So on the renders, what you're looking at is
The driveway, got it.
Yeah.
So the top of the structure is still at the level of the road.
The top of the structure is categorically below the road for the entire road. There's one particular section which I could show, which actually shows the road. Can I do that?
Yeah, is that on this one possible? Well, thank you for giving such a complete.
why do you guys want to look at all
This one here?
I mean, that's not in our stuff, that's planning board stuff.
Sorry, it's this one. So what is...
The elevations.
So this is... Yeah, sorry, this is one, so it's number 3 at the bottom. So basically, this section here is looking from the stream towards the front elevation of the building. This line here is the road. So it goes down and up and then back down again. And this is the highest point. So obviously, so we've had it surveyed.
Be careful.
Essentially 30 feet from the road down to the stream in vertical height. So it fits in there, we've adjusted it, so one of the things that people may not like, so we put a painted roof, so there's no pitched roof, to be able to achieve that everything underneath the road.
Wonderful plan.
Yeah, thanks for submitting such.
So
a
Grace,
detailed-
what they just need is a front setback variance from us. That's all they need from us. From the road, front setback, that's all they need from us. Yeah, I could see that. I watched your presentation to the planning board the other night, so I'm pretty familiar with it, but. So I was just confused because on the application, it doesn't show that you need a variance at all.
Do you know this location?
Yeah.
I wasn't able to drive by there today.
Yeah.
Good work, Grace.
Are there neighbors on the other side of the street?
Papers down there.
On the other side of the street, no. So that directs back the, it connects to the Phoenicia Mount Tobias Forest.
That's DC land.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question. I found this interesting. Zero site disturbance to water table, a structural mass-based system that works on principles of tensegrity. Is that a word?
It is, yeah.
And counterbalancing so minimal ground penetration use of inorganic materials. Could you explain that?
Yeah, love to. So, and just to be clear, so we've been doing this for 30 years, so it's not a new thing. So,
Doing what?
Designing?
Design and building.
Wow,
Yeah.
very nice.
So Buckminster Fuller, you may be familiar with, but essentially what tensegrity is using tension cables that work against each other to assist with a cantilever.
Similar to a bridge.
Yeah, exactly. So all of the bridge designs, where it's mainly used is in the stadium designs, the stadium roofs. But we're applying on a residential scale. We normally do bigger buildings, but in this case, in this particular instance, what we love about it, and it's a very special site, and by using this system, we can be another 20 feet back without, so the actual footprint is only 8 foot wide, and it articulates to miss all of the trees.
Wow.
So,
Nice work.
I'm just amazed and happy that you decided to do this in our community.
yeah, well, thank you. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Brilliant,
old
brilliant.
enough that I actually met Bucky.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he's a professor
Right.
at Southern Illinois University. I think,
Yeah.
Professor of
Yeah.
architecture.
Yeah, he was in Carolina where I went to school. I studied him when I was down there, but
Yeah,
never met him.
incredible guy.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Who would have thought we'd have all these architecture nerds out here today? Oh my God. Great.
Question, doesn't relate to anything, but where's your septic?
So the septic, so that's actually what's taken most of the time. So the septic, so believe it or not, so there's these lines here, these ones here are 50 foot, 100 and 150 foot from the high water mark. And so the septic is in this corner,
150 foot.
and we're able to achieve a 2% grade straight fall, so no holding tank, from the, obviously the furthest and lowest septic. It's one of the most bizarre things I've come across. So New York State does not recognize grey water, so it's only or black and grey mixed together. But from that point all the way over here, which is about 500 feet, 2% grade, standard septic. We obviously will put in a newer generation treatment tank, but yeah, we're able to get that compliant. So our understanding, besides you guys, is that it's still 100 feet within the stream. Obviously, all of the technical referrals will go out to the CPP. The one thing we can't get away from is a permit for the driveways as an impermeable or impervious surface, and just making sure that there's the right filtration and catchment of any runoff into the stream. Obviously, it's super important stream. But we've been able to sort of get around with Grace and Eric's help, and then the engineering team, we've been able to get around each of us.
Is this your company, our host West?
That's just my partner, my family. She's Danish, so and it's actually Danish architects that have done most of it.
Yeah, well, incredible work.
Yeah. So why don't we make a motion for a
Public hearing. Any other questions? Any other questions? No?
When are you gonna build?
So we're going to build straight away. So we actually build it, if you're happy to hear it, so we actually prefabricate in North Carolina, and the modules, basically everything gets cut out with machines, and it makes its way up here in modules. So the site disturbance is reasonably low. If we went to plan, we would be in Lancaster.
What is the external skin of the?
So the external skin, so I don't know if you guys know woodstock, woodwork, but basically the principle is, seeing as though Chris has opened up the nerd thing, but essentially the modules themselves form the structure. All of the internals are nice. The external is what we call a vernacular facade, which basically means that we use all of the dead timber and then take it to woodstock, mill it and bring it back as a live edge. So it's essentially all of the materials are recycled, even the modules.
So it would appear as exposed wood.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of there's little glass, but planet roof, live edge, external with glass, and then the core 10 steel, the sort of peripatetic steel. So that sort of makes its way into the side of the hill.
What kind of HVAC?
I would like, apparently we can look at geothermal. We do use that on a lot of other projects. I'm not so sure about that. But essentially it would just be a heat pump. It's a passive solar design, so the way it's designed, it's actually set into the trees. So what's really doesn't come across in the renders is that you can't see it. Like you're literally 30 foot back. All of the trees actually pass through the deck. So we won't get a lot of sun. But yeah, it's a standard sort of heat pump, heat transfer system.
Are you working with passive house standards? Or?
Yeah, and we actually, so we do lead as well, so it's a very early process. We understand that could be months with the CSDP, even though we've already sort of got agreement with them, having met them on site, but that if we get past this stage and get into the building site, then yeah, we'd like to make it because we use recycled modules with the steel, we can actually achieve so as I'm sure you're aware, Chris, the embedded carbon in any new steel kind of makes it really hard to achieve any of the ratings, but because this is all recycled steel and green steel, and all of the materials are found from the site, we should be able to get up.
So it looks like one of these roof structures will be natural growth.
Exactly.
Natural growth. What is the material of the other two roof structures?
It's just like a metal stainless steel charcoal, like you see a lot of around here.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, congratulations.
I got 1,000 questions, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, well, and I said to Kristen, so we actually have it strung out and surveyed with all of the flood levels and the proposed site and everything, so we'd love to post anyone at any time.
No, you're probably aware the term 100-year floodplain is kind of a wonky term these days.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware of that. In fact, we just encountered an historic drought recently, which I guess is over.
I'll just quickly speak to that. So we're in the business of climate risks and building climate zones, and the flood modelling that's been done there is great. But we've done our own, and the thing that people don't really appreciate, and it doesn't come out in the modelling. So the modelling actually has an island on the other side, a little bit of where you could potentially build, but you would have to have a bridge and all of those sorts of things. But in actuality, it's only 6 inches higher, and the way the whole site works is as the water comes down and then heads to where the proposed location is, at that point it's 638 feet from valley wall to valley wall. So where there are problems is exactly what DEC, Shandaken Streams and Cornell, why they've done the work there is where it sort of snakes, it's thin, so the valley wall is 50 to 100 feet. Once it gets past that corner, it then spreads out. So I absolutely take the point. We're making a decision to be there, but we're only doing that because we wouldn't rely on the modelling. We think the 1,500, all of that, it's actually really good work, but we need the 650 feet to be comfortable ourselves. The guy, I don't know if you guys know Bobby Taylor, who's the
Big time.
right.
Good friend.
So Bobby's who I spend all the time with, he was great. He and Eric, between them, the knowledge that they have is pretty amazing, but Bobby was obviously here for Irene and all the different ones, and his family was in there, and so we went through the whole thing. He's a good man.
Yeah, good people. They do excellent work, and I'm on a number of their boards as well. If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion that we have a public hearing for the project in the January. So we're obligated to have a public hearing before we can make any.
What I'm not sure about, do we not need to go back to the planning board?
Well, I think,
Right.
doesn't he need
Okay, perfect, that's great.
doesn't he need a special use permit to be within the 100 feet from the stream bank?
Correct, that's my money for the waiver.
Okay.
And we'll have
Just
it
checking to
granted,
make sure.
or still under- They have.
Sorry.
They have granted the 100 foot. The planning
Well,
board.
he's already dealt with the DEC, DEP, and the building
So
department,
our town zoning code requires that any structure
any special use permit
water
issued by the planning board.
Planning board wasn't here because it's.
Yeah.
Okay. But they haven't ruled on anything yet at this point.
No, they, not there.
Brilliant project.
Yeah, we'd like to see it done. I really,
I heard so, I got so many calls on this property, so.
Really?
So many, what to do, like, and this is beautiful. And a lot of stuff, people were like, none of our reporters even want to talk about that. Okay, if you want, we can talk about it, but this is beautiful. And it's a good view right to the community. That's just me.
I'm just happy that he decided to build it in our community because it's something that you would probably never see here in a lifetime.
well, it's a special community. I mean, I think you'll enjoy.
So why here?
So for me, so I came over 35 years ago to play across the University of North Carolina. Had a great experience, won a national championship. Basically had worked in between here and there for about 20 years, and then in the last 6 years, my son, even though he didn't even know what sport was at the time, has fallen in love with it. He's gone through the high school and now college process of athletics. He's actually studying hurricane climatology in Florida in real time,
Nice.
which is great. But to be honest, I've just fallen in love with it. So and I've done a little bit of research. I was thinking about this site. So there are the heritage strain in Newland Creek, and just spending time with the trout, unlimited guys and the streams guys, like I think the property is really special, but the actual community. I've been here 3 years now. I love it. I mean, I'm fanatical snowboarder.
Yeah, Silver Hollow is a special place. Are you a fly fisherman yourself? Oh,
Well,
Here's a guide.
I'm a guide.
yeah. So I grew up fishing in a different form of fishing. Literally, my parents would drop us off on a beach for 2 weeks with 2 days of produce.
Ooh, that's
Say, we'll see in 2 weeks. So fly fishing I've only discovered in the last couple of years, but I just love the poetry,
Survivalist.
I think not right in front of your property, but both upstream and downstream is ground zero for these heritage brook trout. Also, I want to mention that the Shandaken Watershed Stream Management Program has been funding our trout and limit group to research where the heritage brook trout are, meaning the original strain of brook trout from the last glacial ice age, and actually that's Warner Creek.
That's it. Yeah. So I've been out there.
Yeah, it's actually way up above where your location is, but that is a spawning run. And we're actually, after about a year of all this genetic analysis, we're within days of actually getting the results
Right.
from that.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, we do that every year. Yeah.
So you work with Jesse Vidal?
Pardon?
Do you know Jesse's the coordinator for?
Yeah, I know those guys.
So Jesse and Stephen Weinberg are basically the guys that we've been working with.
Yeah, you're just about ground zero for catching it, and there'll be brown and rainbows in there also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I applaud your ambition. I also applaud your chutzpah. So, if there's no other questions, we'll make a motion for a public hearing. So I make a motion that we hear a public hearing for this
I think we already did that, but we'll do it again.
project. So, hey, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. 6:30, right?
Yeah, because we have one at 6:45, the one on Main Street, Venetian.
The Pro.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so a letter will go out to adjacent property owners. And by the way, I think there is, so who did you purchase the land from, actually?
So a guy called Peter Beasel.
He's the next door.
No, so Rick Raimondi is on one side. So Rick's stonemason, or runs a stone business. He's from Connecticut. He's a part-timer. And then Boyd and Kathleen next out on the other side. They're from the city of actors. And then Andy's across the road. But yeah, so Peter, it had been in the family. It was a arm's length sort of, they carved off the bottom of it. And to Grace's point, I think a lot of people have looked at it and it's just hard. Like it is really hard. But we just looked at it a different way. So we don't want to touch the water at all. We want to just basically hide inside of the hill and enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a very extensive stream renovation there.
Yeah.
And the problem was there was a huge clay lens.
Yeah,
It was-
yeah, the rotational failures were the key sort of geotech that we had to get past.
Yeah. Well, you should have some clean water, gas, in fact, some of the cleanest water on the planet.
Yeah, it seems that way. And basically what we're going to do, so with Bobby, they did an amazing amount of work. They sort of didn't quite get to the painting, as much painting as he would like. And so we've sort of taken that on with DSC to essentially finish that out. But yeah, it's the waters.
Yeah, so a letter will go out to all adjacent landowners, inviting them to comment, positive or negative, and they're obligated by law to hold that public hearing before we can offer a ruling on the variance.
And then, sorry guys, let's do another public one after that, if we get through that and get through the planning board, do we then do another?
The planning board does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two, yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
No. Thank you so much. Good luck with this project.
A couple other points of business. Partners for Progress said they wanted to meet with the zoning board, and last time we discussed this, apparently there was an issue with the grant that they were operating under. In the interim, we had a meeting with the Partners of Progress. Partners for Patterns for Progress. So we had sort of a kickoff meeting for the comprehensive town plan, two of us who were in attendance. Did they still want to meet with us?
You should take that home and just look at it.
You want to set up an appointment for next month?
Oh, that's why they fell off the desk.
Yeah, have it,
Can we
open
find
it
out
up and
the time I gave it, that's not on the meeting, or you just want to write the time on the hour?
See if they
Your
can
next
fit
meeting
in.
starts at 6:30. Can you guys meet here at 5:30 to sit down on the
We need an hour, you think?
They probably like more than an hour.
Yeah, and you're cutting it short already. And make them speed up if they know it's 5:30 and we have something to do at 6:30, then they'll like roll along very quickly.
And honestly, I've been many meetings, have had it progress, that one, does others, and it has to be a conversation, time, this is a life. So, you know.
So should we invite them to come at 5:30? Next meeting, so we'll just have one meeting instead of multiple meetings. This is a consulting firm that the town is paid to
Consult
manage
us.
we're getting consulted.
Speaking of patterns, they're starting, the community engagement pieces, and this, so this first community engagement day, it's gonna change like, but be a lot of, tell your friends, It's gonna be sometimes for breakfast, it's more morning, here in the afternoon, sometimes time in the evening, community day, lots of people to come out, engage, who want to see stuff. You know anyone who
Yeah, so if you have any ideas about, the comprehensive town plan, the future direction of the community.
What
this
day is that?
that one is 25th. It'll be okay.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other issue is one of the members, their tenure was up. or-
We advertised, we applied, so Gary doesn't have a choice, he has to come back.
Oh, Gary.
one condition though.
What's that?
You gotta fix this chair.
That's all right. You know what, we'll get you a new chair.
How about coffee and donuts?
I think you're the one that wore that chair out.
Yeah, that's right.
30 years, you're the one that wore it out. It was brand new when you, well, in the middle of your tenure.
Be nice if it was yours.
Well, you're gonna, if you want,
These things are
consider
terrible.
recommending the town board to, if Gary wants to reappoint Gary,
We need a recommendation to the town board.
because they have, resolution.
Yeah, they
Okay.
actually, right.
So if you're comfortable with that, I make a motion that we present the renomination of Gary Blumenmandy to the Shandaken zoning board of appeals.
I'll
Get that,
second it.
Olivia? You got that? Okay. May I have a second on that? Second. All in favor? So moved. All right, Gary, I guess we'll be seeing you for another, 5 years?
If he gets a new chair.
Yeah.
If I can manage the chair.
Yeah, get him a chair.
Well, somebody must have been hanging curtains on him, that's how it was back then.
Might have been other things going on up there in that chair.
It did come up, I don't know, maybe I don't remember right now. So notice there's a kind of really meeting.
Okay.
You got a packet. You got a packet.
So that is just, at the end of that document, they're dropping you guys sign that says, you know, essentially that you don't want to be leading agents and that you're fine or take
Oh, okay.
for the project.
That's this project. That's this project?
That was.
All right. Sorry I couldn't be here for that. We had a Christmas party for the Limited. I had to show up and wish everybody happy Hanukkah. So, and I understand there were a couple of negative commentaries about,
Concerns about parking, noise and lighting, and you'll see more of that. Wellington is incredibly engaged. They
Yeah.
really are. I've actually never seen things like that. They will talk to anybody, all you have to do is that. And so, their process, I think, they need to see stuff like that. But you'll see stuff.
I mean, you can't keep everybody happy. I mean, that's evident even with this board, right?
Yeah, it's a
Well, we
big
try.
loss. I mean, the building's gonna fall down.
Yeah.
yeah. It's another incredible project. Well, it's nice to see that there's this kind of really smart money coming into the community and, you know.
I think my point there was more that, like, if you're approaching people, members of the community who are concerned, like, over the next 6 months, encourage them, if you feel comfortable doing it, encourage them to speak to Wellington, to that LLC, because they will talk to that property.
Yeah, they will.
They may not be able to answer every question and make them 100% happy, but they will be so happy to talk to anybody who has concerns.
Yeah.
And of course, we're happy to host that here.
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. The community needs tender loving care involvement in financial investment. And that's what this project offers.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't want to change anything, you know, too much parking, too many people, I mean, what are you going to have there? I mean,
In
it's,
the case of Pine
Well,
Hill,
it's
kind of a
the
time
village, it's a
capsule.
village, that's why you have the village, like Phoenicia. That's like someone complaining about Phoenicia having cars on the street.
right.
Yeah.
But I do think he asked the right questions. I mean, those concerns are valid.
Yeah.
And I think they're working to address them.
They are. If they weren't at all, it's one thing, but they are, and they may not
No,
be.
all that parking's gonna be resolved. It's just a matter of when and exactly how it's gonna be resolved, but it's already resolved for the most part. It's done.
10 spots.
The parking is resolved.
It's amazing.
You need about 20 spots.
She's got 10 on the property,
Yeah,
on the property.
they need 1.5 for every apartment.
And then the Botini lot down the street, was that being given up to the town or did that project?
I haven't heard about it in a while. I did talk to town attorney 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was trying, I think, what it was, so it was a big title. But I don't have that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we close the meeting? So I make a motion, we adjourn. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
So move. Everybody